Welcome back. We're back here. Anything new? The curtains are shut tight. The color of these curtains is rather gloomy. For a place where people's lives are in the balance, they could have chosen to hang something a little more cheery, you know? I know, however, I think the designer had more things to think about than the lobbies. Well, as a Von Karma, I would afford any location related to the law extra attention to detail. A bit obsessed, aren't we? Anything new? I wonder if the killer used these plastic bags in a flash of inspiration. With that detective, I somehow doubt he's that quick-witted. So you're saying that this crime was thought out in advance. With that detective, I somehow doubt he's capable of making such a complex plan. Francisco, when will you learn to take responsibility for your statements? Fuck, I don't want to leave. This decorative plant foliage is quite nice. It's actually something to be around it. Perhaps I should purchase one for my room. Was this table here all along? I suppose so. Well, clearly it's out of place. When you take the sofa into consideration, that table is much too tall. I get the impression that the two were not meant to be used as a set, Francisca. I knew that. It seems she's lost her calm sense of judgment in her eagerness to defeat me. Is the DVD in here? I keep saying DVD. The VHS tape. This is one tiny TV. Detective Gumshoe was rather shocked at this and said it is huge compared to his own. Anything you compare to something he owns will always seem grandiose. Speaking of grandiose, let's say that ego of yours could use a little deflating. I can't check if the tape is in there. Earlier you were in lobby number 1 and now you're here in lobby number 2. You're quite the busy man, Detective Bad. Multiple returns to a crime scene brings about success. That's what we detectives say. I see. In that case, you wouldn't mind if I asked you about what happened again, correct? I don't have anything left to say to you, boy. Boy, you'll see. I will draw my answers from you one way or another. Would it kill you to help us even a tiny bit in our investigation? I gave Faraday's notebook to the judge earlier. That's help enough, don't you think? Please, we are asking you for just a bit more of your cooperation. Don't push me, kid. The time of murder. I'd like to ask once again about what happened around here at the time of the crime. I refuse to answer. Any more investigating you do would be a waste of time. Besides, how am I supposed to answer questions about things I don't know about? Things you don't know about, but aren't you supposed to know everything? He should. Wait, is that possible? Maybe he doesn't know about the trick behind the piece of evidence. I should try showing it to him. It may prove to be the key to getting some answers from Detective Bad. I'll show him the key. This or the key? Detective Bad. Did you know the existence of the item in this photograph? Of course I did. It's my job to know everything related to the Yatagarasu case. In that case, let me ask you something. Did you know that the knife that killed Mr. Faraday and this Yatagarasu key are one and the same? What? That's impossible. It looks like he didn't know after all. This piece of evidence, which we called the Yatagarasu key, is actually a well-camouflaged knife. Mr. Faraday was planning to use this Yatagarasu key to prove that Mr. Rell was not the real Yatagarasu. Isn't that correct? I guess so. However, Mr. Faraday had no idea that it was, in fact, a knife. Yeah, I have to admit, neither one of us knew that fact. And if neither of us knew, then no one in law enforcement knew either. How do we miss something as big as this? I noticed that since a little while ago you appear to be searching for something. I presume that this key is what you were searching for. Yeah, that's right. And why were you searching for it? Because I promised Faraday. I promised that I'd protect that key with my life. But after he was killed, the key disappeared from Faraday's evidence bag. Who would have thought that the key is what took Faraday's life? Detective Bad, so that we may find the truth, please testify for me once more. Alright. But it doesn't matter how many times I tell you about what happened, nothing will change. Time of murder. I ask that you please testify once more about what happened in lobby number 2 and what you experienced in lobby number 1. My answer is still the same, and this is the last time I'm going to do this. That's fine because I only need this one last time to clear everything up and find the truth behind this case. Detective Bad's movements. I was in lobby number 1, talking with you. We were talking about some trivial things. I heard the gunshot right before the trial was about to reconvene. When we heard it, you and I immediately dashed out into the hallway together. I saw Gumshoe goofing around there, and then we all ran to lobby number 2. Sounds like the exact story told us before. Indeed, however, I feel that we've yet to draw out all the information that we can. So the thing I'm curious on, not that one, not that one, because I'm thinking about the judge and how the judge heard the gunshot, but the gunshot was actually the balloon popping. So I'm wondering if he also heard a balloon pop.
Hold it!
Until you heard the gunshot, did you notice anything else that was out of the ordinary? I didn't hear any other strange sounds until the gunshot. If the gunshot Bad heard was really the one from the murder, that would give the other piece of evidence an entirely different meaning. I ask that you please amend your testament with a new statement. Sure. I didn't hear any other sounds until that gunshot. I'm gonna... Where's the balloon?
Objection!
Detective Bad, does this balloon fragment remind you of anything? It's the same color as the one Kay was holding? Oh, so you knew about the girl's balloon? Yeah, I was sitting with her up in the gallery. During the recess, just before we split up, I filled that balloon up for her. Well, as you may have already surmised, this piece did indeed come from Kay's balloon. So what about the balloon? I wonder if you might remember hearing this balloon pop at some point. What are you getting at? This fragment was found in the hallway right in front of lobby number 2. Furthermore, it was the sound of this balloon popping that the judge mistook as a gunshot. Oh? So the sound that the judge heard was not actually a gunshot, huh? On top of that, His Honor said that he heard the balloon pop about 20 minutes before the trial was to reconvene. Yes, which means that His Honor heard the balloon pop in the hallway when you were in lobby number 1, Detective Bad. And if you were in lobby number 1 at the time, you were close enough that you should have heard the balloon popping as well. So? Well, don't give me a so. We just proved that there's a flaw in your testimony. The crackling of the truth is louder than the sound of your sweet and naive cracking. And since you kids don't seem to know, let me fill you in on something. Did you ever stop to think why the doors and walls of this place seem so rugged? That's because they were designed to keep secrets from being leaked. What is that supposed to mean? The doors and walls are super thick. The window panes are double layered. To top it all off, even the curtains are made of a special sound-absorbing material. Then you mean... Since I was shut up inside lobby number 1, there was no way I could have heard that sound. No. Gurk. I knew that's what he was going to say. That means that Scruffy-Face's testimony is completely useless. If the rooms are soundproof, then of course you wouldn't hear any sound of a struggle. That's also why it's only natural that I didn't hear the balloon popping. Now do you get it, kids? Miles, I thought we were supposed to be the ones finding flaws in his logic, not the other way around. The other way around. It's not possible to hear the sound of a balloon popping if we were in lobby number 1. However, we examine the situation in reverse. A person standing in the hallway should not be able to hear the real gunshot either. and yet Detective Gumshoe claims to have heard it while he was standing in the hallway. Detective Bad, if that is the case, how exactly did you hear the gunshot? What do you mean, how? I just did. It would appear that you have yet to realize the contradiction in your own words. Oh, how so? If the rooms are as soundproof as you say they are, then how did the sound of a gunshot enter your ears? I see what you mean. I guess I'm more out of it from Faraday's murder than I had thought. Which means what exactly, Miles? In the end, what does it all boil down to? It boils down to this: there must be a reason as to how Detective Bad and Gumshoe heard a gunshot they theoretically couldn't have. It looks like we need to examine the state of the crime scene once again. The state of the crime scene. Wait, can it be? It's that ultra-strong perfume you wears? She spilled some of it. He opened a window, which is how he heard the sound. And way too noisy. TV was set to a high volume. The surveillance video. How could a piece of evidence just disappear? Oh, was the gunshot sound? So, let's see. Alright. Watch me be right for the wrong reasons. He could hear the sound because the window was open in both rooms. Meanwhile, in the left room, they watched the video, which the TV was on super loud, and they mentioned before that you can clearly hear the gunshot sound. So if that's on super loud and they play the sound of the gunshot, that's what Bat heard. Oh fuck. The window and the smell. It's simply not possible for the killer to have escaped through barred windows, and yet the fragrance of the perfume managed to escape from the defendant lobby number 1. Of course, incorporeal things can move freely through these open barred windows. And now we have the loud TV and the open window. Now, though, what else besides the smell can go both in and out of an open barred window? The answer is sound. So no matter how careful the killer was, if the windows were open, the jig would be up. And since the windows in both Defendant Lobby 1 and the hallway were open, that explains how the sound of a gunshot could be heard in both locations. Missing evidence. The video is the gunshot. The missing piece of evidence is a video that shows the moment in which Mr. Rell killed the embassy staff member. The sound of the gunshot left quite an impression on me when it played during the trial. The video should have been returned to Mr. Faraday's evidence bag for the recess and brought back here. If it disappeared after that time, then it's possible that the tape is still here in this room. Eureka! The evidence that is the missing evidence created for me is the gunshot sound that no one should have been able to hear in the first place. Miles, what have you been thinking about? Stop wasting time thinking, let's start looking again. It's not a waste of time to think, for I have figured out where we should look. And where would that be? I believe we should examine the television. The TV? Well, you kids have fun. Go ahead and examine whatever you like. I won't rest until I've inspected every suspicious looking cranny. Right there. It's a video player, and there seems to be a videotape inside. It looks like the tape must have stopped on its own when it reached the end. This tape, could it not be the missing surveillance tape? I suppose, but Detective Bad, would it be alright with you if I verified the content of this video? Sure, knock yourselves out. Alright then, let's rewind this and see what we have. If I remember correctly, the footage of Rell killing the embassy staff member should be at about the 30-minute mark from the start of the tape. Understood. This should be about right. Now, let's see. This is the footage of Mr. Rell shooting the embassy staff member. I knew it. The missing piece of evidence, the surveillance video, was here all along. This sound. What's the meaning of this? It appears that Detective Bat has figured out the true sound of the source of the gunshot he heard. With this, I think we can figure out the trick behind this double murder. You mean that you figured it all out then? Yes, all I have to do now is show what the gunshot Detective Bat and Gumshoe heard was, and through where they heard it from. Fine. In that case, show me what you deduced. Now to show what the gunshot Detective Bat and Gumshoe heard was, and through where they heard it from. I won't rest until I've inspected every suspicious-looking nook and cranny. No, we're not done. We did that. Earlier, when Detective Gumshoe touched this, it made a most terrible racket, and when Scruffy turned on the television. Actually, come to think of it, I don't think Detective Gumshoe actually touched the television at all. Furthermore, it seemed more like when a video feed suddenly stops, at least it did to me. Wonder why that is? Because it was being played. Someone left the video on play the whole time? I suppose so. Other than the killer, there's hardly a sound on the rest of the tape. And why did the television make that loud noise when Scruffy got near it? Probably because the tape had run out and stopped its playback. It's not just bad luck, the detective has the worst timing in the world. Someone purposefully left the video on play. The question is why. Just as with the spilled perfume in lobby number 1, if the windows were open, that piece of evidence sound would also dissipate out. Now to show what the gunshot Detective Bat and Gumshoe heard was, and through where they heard it from. Deduce? Oh, no, I don't think I need to click on the window. Actually, maybe I do. Do I have the videotape? I do.
Eureka!
If the door and windows to the crime scene, namely this room that we're in, were closed, the killer could have used the gun and no one would have been the wiser. That's true. This courthouse does seem to be well designed for such a thing, as it were. However, what happened in reality was Detective Gumshoe, Detective Bat, and Miss Yu, all three of them heard the gunshot. Well, the windows in lobby 1, 2, and the hallway were open, so naturally the people in those locations could hear it. But then, why would the criminal open the window in the first place? To allow the gunshot to be heard, I suppose? Correct, that's the only logical conclusion we can draw from this. But why was that necessary in the first place? I want a real answer, Miles. I demand satisfaction. Very well. I believe that the killer wanted to manipulate our perception of a certain fact. The killer wanted to manipulate our perception of... the crime scene, when the crime took place, the murder weapon. When the crime took place. Because if they were dead, let's say earlier, with no sound, and then they put the video on play, we would hear that gunshot and assume that was the time of death. The killer wanted to fabricate the time of death of their precise wishes, and they used the gunshot in the surveillance video to do so. So that's why the tape was left running. You mean the gunshot I heard was from this video? Yes, which means that the murders really occurred at an earlier time than we thought. It must have been during the recess, but before Detective Gumshoe was on guard duty. Someone who has no alibi for that time period, and planned this crime out in advance. That person is the real killer. Yay! Mr. Edgeworth. Yes, what is it? Ms. Yu is asking for you. She's in the courtroom. She says that she's identified the murderer, but she wants to clarify something. It looks like Miss Yu is still investigating something. Understood? Please tell her that I'll be right over. I'll come along, I want to hear what she has to say. It would appear that the time has come to uncover the truth. To be continued. Yes, I will save my progress. And I'm assuming this next part is probably the finale of this chapter, which we'll do next time. Bye-bye.